This is the lecture for St. Charles Community College for Introduction to GIS. Today we're going to cover hyperlinks, which are a fairly common thing. You probably use them regularly on your own computer when you see a map and you click on something and it takes you to a website or presents a document or presents an image. Anything where you click on a map and it has an action, it takes you somewhere or presents something. That in GIS terminology is referred to as a hyperlink. So there are a few steps to connect these two things together, but at the end of the day it's a fairly simple process. In essence, what you need to do is tell the computer that a particular geography in your map is connected to a website or a document, or the one we're going to do today is a photograph or a picture. So the first thing that we need to do is get to a feature class that can be edited. Not all of the data that comes with your textbook or comes from other sources can be edited. If not, one way to get around that is to make a copy of that feature class and then pull the copy into your project. Usually if you make a copy, you can then edit it. If it's a feature class that you have created yourself, then you have all of the rights to it and you can do other things. So the first step that we're going to do is to make a new field within our existing feature class. So I've got a project here. It just has the United States, with, as you can see, a copy of my United States feature class. I'm going to open up the attribute table first. From the attribute table, you can see it's just the regular table. It has all of the census data. We're going to go up to the top here to the pull down at this little white paper signal and go down to add a field. If this is grayed out, that means that you do not have rights to edit this feature class and you need to either make a copy of it or get to another one. But we do have rights for this one, so we'll go ahead and select that. Then we will add a field called hyperlink. You can call it whatever you choose to, but hyperlink is a good one, and we'll make it a text field. You want to watch your length here because you're going to have to input in a navigation path. If you have your document or your photograph or whatever it is that you plan to connect buried within folder after folder after folder, you might need longer than 50. But I think 50 will work for this, so we'll go ahead and leave that. So once you select OK, if I scroll to the very end, we now have a new field that is our hyperlink field. Now note we have done this action before we started editing. It's a strange thing that we can actually add a field without actually editing the table. So once we have added the field, now we need to go ahead and populate that field. So we're going to go to our editor toolbar. Again, if you don't have that loaded, remember you go to your customize and your toolbar options, and then you select the editor toolbar here. Mine is already loaded, so we don't need to do that. And we start editing. It's going to ask, not surprisingly, what do you want to edit? And so we identify that and then select OK. It says, as it often does, there might be a few things that don't match. Is that OK? And we're fine with that. Now the next thing you need to do is identify which record within your feature class you wish to make a connection to. So we're going to make a connection to our record for the state of Vermont. So I'm just going to highlight that actually so that I can see which one it is. Again, remember, you can move your fields around if you want to, but we're just going to highlight it just for a minute so that I can remember what it is. Now we need to go to where we have stored our, in this case, picture. If you already know the navigation path, you can skip this step and just type it in. I don't happen to remember what it is, and also it would give you an example of how to do this if you're looking for one. So then I'm going to go to the navigation path that I have here and find the actual letters and folders and everything that it will need in order to identify where this is. So I'm going to copy this itself, go back into my hyperlink, and then paste that here. Now I will need to actually add, it didn't seem to capture the name of the file itself. So I'll go ahead and add that. And note, you do need to add the extension, in this case, whatever comes after the point. So I've got ice cream point JPEG here. Once you've added everything, the drive that it's on, in this case C, and every single one of the folders that it's in, then you can stop editing and save your edits. Now, just because I have added this into my database, I still have to let the computer know what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and close my tables box here just because I don't need it at this moment. I'm going to go into the table of contents to the feature class that I just added the hyperlink field to and populated it with my navigation path. Right-click on it and move down to the properties box. We have our set of tabs at the top, and we are going to look at our display tab. So we click over to the display tab and we let it know that we want it to support hyperlinks. And then we have to pull down and identify which field, in this case the one we just created, has the navigation path in it. So we click the support hyperlinks box, and then we pull down and identify the field that it's in. If you're sending it to a website or something else, you would click those radio boxes, but we're just sending it to a document, and then we would say OK. Now at this point we have to recognize what is referred to as the hyperlink tool. Normally this is put up as default. Previous to what the process we just went, this little lightning bolt was here, but it was grayed out. Now it is yellow, it is active. If, however, your lightning bolt or your hyperlink is not automatically put up to the default, this is where you would need to go and get it through your customize tool and then click and drag it onto your GUI. Once that is placed there, we can change the function of our cursor to the hyperlink tool. And note, once I click that, my cursor now looks like that lightning bolt. In addition, the record that has something attached to it, in this case the state of Vermont, has a very slight blue line around it. I'll go ahead and zoom in here so we can see a little better. You can see this state has a very subtle highlighted line around it. If I put my new cursor into the state that has a hyperlink associated with it, the link itself shows up, the cursor changes slightly, and if I click, the image that I have requested to connect to it will appear on your screen. So these are very useful. You can do as many of these as you want. But again, it's just a couple of steps process to get the database itself ready to receive these navigation paths and then just typing them in. The trickiest part really is making sure that your navigation path is perfectly typed. The backslashes, what comes after the point, in this case JPEG, whatever it is, it needs to be exact. The drive needs to be exact. Everything needs to be perfect, or else the computer won't be able to find it. So that is the end of the lecture on hyperlinks.